Hey there! In this video we're going to do some tracking motion, okay? And I'm going to track part of my glasses here and get some text to attach to it. You can see all those little dots? Luckily we don't have to do them manually. So what happens when I preview it, let's go to full screen, look at us. Hey! It attaches to my face and moves around and it's pretty automatic. Alright, let's go and do that now in After Effects. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we've got a new project open in my project window. I'm going to double click in here to import. I'm going to bring this one called trackmotion.mp4. More pictures of me talking. Okay, let's make a comp from it. Either right click it and go to new comp from selection, or you can click and hold and drag it down to this little icon here. Makes a new comp. Cool, so here's my comp down here called track motion. There's my MP4 on it. Now I'm going to zoom out so you can see the whole thing. More pictures of me, exciting. And I've kind of wiggled around while I'm talking this. You have a preview and listen to it, but it's me rambling on. I moved around kind of like an idiot so that there's something to track, okay? Otherwise, if I just keep still, obviously, it's not very exciting. So let's have our playhead right at the beginning. And the first thing we need to do is open up our tracker window. If you can't see it, it's over here. Go to Window and go to Tracker. Okay, open it up. Have this layer down here selected and click on the one that says Track Motion, not Camera. Okay, Track Motion. You get this little target in the center here. Now, one thing before we move on is that we've actually dived, that's our composition that we were looking at a second ago. It's actually opened up our layer. Okay, we've dived inside of it. Remember at the beginning, we showed you how to double click and you get lost inside of here. We're actually inside of here now. So if you lose this tracking point, you're like, where'd they all go? Just click on this option over here. Cool, this little target here is what we're going to use to track. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, at the moment it's quite small, so I'm going to zoom in and just make it a bit bigger. To make it bigger, okay, we've got our selection tool. I'm just going to kind of make that bigger and make that bigger. So the two squares bigger. Okay, I'm going to zoom out again. And if you want to move it, you have to click anywhere inside of the main square, but not on the line, okay, or the target in the center. So just drag in the kind of lines here. See here? You can drag them and it's easy to drag. Cool, so I'm going to zoom in, and what we're going to do is pick our targeting point. It's really easy on mine because I've got my glasses here. There's this like little square. The cool thing about that square is that it appears the whole way through the video. Okay, I don't turn around or anything, so it's a nice easy target. If you don't have anything easy like that, maybe the pupil. Okay, my one's not so good because there's a bit of reflections on my glasses, so it doesn't have a very good contrast there. You might use the edge of the mouth or a nostril, something that appears the whole way through. Okay, remember I'm just going to drag it along until we find the center of that. Cool, so we've got two squares and a target. What do they mean? This outside square is like a general search area. Okay, this, I say, have a look in this area because you can see it moves around. So I'm just kind of giving it some boundaries to say, look inside this kind of area for this guy. Okay, if it ends up jumping outside of here, it's going to lose the track point. The reason we have this outside square is that it's quite system demanding for After Effects to go through and start tracking data. So if we have this like massive covering the whole thing, it's going to take forever to look inside of this in every frame. So we just keep it as small as we can. You might have to trial and error. I can see that kind of, does it dive out? Nearly. Okay, so I might just move it so it's a little bit across there. Cool, so that's my tracking area. Back to the beginning here. This inside area here is what you put around like a unique object. So in my case, I'm going to put it around, okay, this glasses here. Okay, I'm going to make it a bit bigger. So this lens here is a nice easy thing for After Effects to track. It's got a top and a bottom and a middle and side and some corners. So it's just really easy for After Effects to say, I can follow that. Okay, it might be around the whole eyeball. Say you're tracking the pupil with a target, okay, and just put it around the eyeball here. Okay, because I've got glasses on, they make a nice easy thing to track. If you're tracking a car, you might put it around the number plate, but track a certain letter. Okay, or yeah, you're gonna have to work it out for your specific need. Now this target thing here is the important bit. That's the thing we're gonna target. Okay, I wanna track that guy there. Cool. So outside bit, general area, inside bit, the specific thing to make it easy for After Effects to not lose this target. And this target should be on something unique as well that appears through the whole scene. To get it going, make sure your playhead's at the beginning. Okay, we can see everything. And we're going to click this one. Where are you? There he is there. So there's two options. There's analyze forward at 1 frame, okay, or there's let it go automatically. Okay, so 1 frame just does 1 frame. We'll just have a look at it because it's interesting. You can see it's moved along to the next frame. Don't worry that the dots end up here. As long as they end up smooth, Okay, as long as this thing keeps on targeting its little part. There. So I'm just going one frame of my video over and over again. Now, if yours keeps losing it, okay, there's a problem. Okay, and it could be that the thing's moving too fast, so it gets all streaky and blurry, and you might have to go through and readjust this thing every single frame. Okay, and that will drive you mad. But be aware that not everything can be tracked. Okay, so play around with this, go forward a few frames and just see if it does keep tracking. If it does, great, we can hit the automatic one and see how well it does. If it doesn't, what you might do is decide, okay, that's not working, tracking this thing here. You might track the other side, you might track my ear, my mouth, try different things. Okay, so I'm gonna hit this middle play, okay, let's analyze forward, and we're gonna kick back, and hopefully it's gonna do it automatically for us. Cool, so it's going reasonably fast, okay, frame by frame. You can see it chugging through there. Oh, it's almost lost the tracking point. Oh, it's lost it. Okay, oh, it's back. Okay, so we're watching that tracking point and you've got to decide, like, it went down a little bit, but because this thing is a bit more of a generic follow, as long as it's following the motion of my head, I'm not worried that it, like, got off the center and got into the corner. So you've got to decide, like, how pixel perfect you need this thing to be. All right, so what we'll do is we'll zoom this up to the end and see how it goes. If it does lose the target, you might have to stop and try and find another tracking point. Yeah, let's zoom it along now. Okay, has it tracked? I looked away. I wasn't really following it because it took a while. I'm watching the little dot. I'm just watching this target here. You can see, yeah, followed it. Even when I went all the way out here, it followed it nicely. Now, if you find yours doesn't, you're using the exact same file as me. A couple of things to check is that you might have to play around and maybe expand this outside box. Okay, maybe readjust this middle box and maybe pick a different target. It should work though. Also, if you get lost, remember, you're back here and you're like, oh no, what happened to all the dots? They were there, but now they're gone. Okay, is just go back into here and there they are. All right, so we've got this far. What do we do with this tracking data? Weirdly, we can't just attach text to it like we want to, okay? I want to bring in that speech bubble, okay? So what we need to do is we need to do one little trick for After Effects. So let's go back to the beginning here. So a little trick we need to do is we need to create something called a null object. Remember, a null object is just an empty layer. Think of it as just a completely blank empty layer. That null can follow these tracking points, but that null doesn't do anything. But what you then can do is you can get your speech bubble to track the null. Okay, so it's a bit of a, bit of a way to make it work. So you say layer, I want a null, please. A little empty nothingness. Down here in your track panel, you can say, I would like to edit target. Yes, I'd like that target to be that null. Click OK. Then the last thing you need to do is click apply. Would you like to track X and Y? So yes, please. So now we've come out of that tracking layer. We've come back into my comp, but now on my comp, whereas remember before it was completely blank, now it's got this red dot all the way across it. That's my null following around. Look at it go. Hey, that null doesn't do anything if I hit play. Okay, so it's nothing there, but now I can bring in anything and get it to parent to that null. So you grab the type tool and start typing. What we're gonna do is over here, I'm in my project window, I'm gonna bring in my speech bubble.ai. Okay, I just made this in Illustrator. It's not very special. I'm gonna drag it in. Okay, it's got a nice big long shadow. I don't know why I did that. Just wanted to kind of cast in the background here. So, and where do I want it to go? It's up to you. Okay, just put it somewhere. And what we'll do is we'll parent it just so you can skip ahead if you want to. So the speech bubble, I'd like you to follow the null. Okay, and remember the null follows those tracking points. So
how often
cool, hey.
Motion tracking work for me automatically without any help?
It's not bad.
That much.
Cool. So yeah, that's it. You track the motion. Then you get a null to follow that, and then you parent something to that null. And what we're going to do is I'm going to unparent it. I'm going to go back to the beginning, unparent it, because I want the speech bubble to pop out as well. So we're just getting into some generic animation now, so you can skip ahead if you like. So what I'd like to do is beginning here, I'm going to hit S for scale. I'm going to get it to come along. So I don't know, maybe this far into it, second and a half, and I'm going to hit scale. Okay, I'm going to start the stopwatch. I'm going to set it to 0. And after just a little bit of time, I'm going to get it to go up to 100. Okay, so what I want to do is... Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something different. So I'm going to undo and show you what I did wrong. Okay, so that's great. I want to do this, but I don't want it scaling from the bottom. See that there's the center of rotation or the anchor point. I want to adjust that first. Okay, so I'm going to grab the anchor point tool. Okay, grab it, and I'm going to put it at the end or tip of this speech bubble, because that's where I want it kind of expanding out of. Cool, now I'm going to hit scale. Now I'm going to hit 0. Come along for just a little bit, and then I'm going to pop it up to 100. And it's just going to look a bit cooler kind of coming out of there. Does it look cooler? It's up to you. Cool, I'm going to add instead of easing, I'm going to use my expression. Okay, I'm going to paste it in there. That's not what I want. I want this thing. Copy it, grab it in there, delete that, paste it in, and hopefully now it's going to do a little bouncy thing. Cool.
So, how often does motion tracking work?
Now, it depends on where you have your playhead, because if I play it here, if I have my playhead here and now parent it, okay, it's going to follow it from this point on. So it's going to be kind of like coming out of my eyeball, look.
So, how often does
Watch.
motion tracking work for
It's kind of weird. So what I'm going to do before I parent it is just get my playhead right back at the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to say you parent to the null from here.
So, how often does motion tracking work for me automatically without any help? Only that much.
Only that
How
much.
often does
Stop.
motion-
So that brings up a really good point. How much does motion tracking work for me every single time? I've given you an example that totally works. Are there times where it's just really hard to do motion tracking? Yeah, it is. So the only way around that really is to manually move it every keyframe. We kind of did this earlier on. Remember, we're in here and we said one frame forward, okay? And then we kind of had to move it. 1 frame forward, move it. And you have to do that. Sometimes it'll track for half of it and then lose it. So you can go back, you have to manually move it around for just parts of your video potentially. This one worked out really well. Yeah, so half the time it works, half the time it doesn't. But yeah, it's a really cool effect anyway. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Let's look at the next video where we do some manual tracking madness.